On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected.
Thank you to all our amazing channel members for your generous support.
Eileen Brennan, a beloved American actress known for her distinctive voice and sharp comedic timing, passed away on July 28, 2013, at the age of 80 from bladder cancer. Her death was natural, quiet, and dignified, an ending that stood in contrast to the vibrant and often chaotic characters she portrayed throughout her career. Best remembered for her roles in Private Benjamin, Clue, and various television appearances, Brennan's passing marked the end of an era where character actors could shine just as brightly as their leading counterparts. Brennan's death came at a time when Hollywood was grappling with issues of representation and diversity, particularly for women in aging roles. Her career had already reflected many of those challenges. After earning an Oscar nomination for Private Benjamin, she continued working steadily, but like many actresses of her generation, found fewer roles as she aged. Still, she maintained a strong presence, known for bringing warmth, wit, and depth to every performance. Her resilience extended beyond her roles. In 1982, Brennan suffered a near-fatal accident after being struck by a car, resulting in multiple surgeries and a long recovery. She later faced and overcame struggles with addiction, testament to the personal battles behind the scenes in Hollywood. These hardships deepened public appreciation for her tenacity and lent new meaning to her characters, who often exuded both strength and vulnerability. The immediate aftermath of her passing prompted tributes from fellow actors and fans alike, recognizing her as a rare talent who often stole scenes without stealing the spotlight. While her death didn't alter the course of cultural history in the way of political figures might, it encouraged a renewed appreciation for the unsung heroes of entertainment, those who elevate a film not with stardom, but with soul. Eileen Brennan's memory endures through her performances, which continue to be celebrated in retrospectives and streaming platforms. Her legacy lives in the laughter she inspired and in the trail she helped blaze for actresses who sought complex, offbeat, and commanding roles outside the conventional mold. In commemorating figures like Brennan, we confront the reality that mortality does not diminish impact, it crystallizes it. Through film, television, and storytelling, we immortalize not only their faces, but their essence. Brennan's life reminds us that memory, shaped by empathy and admiration, is among humanity's most powerful tools for resisting oblivion. Dressler, a towering figure of early Hollywood and one of its most unlikely stars, died of cancer on July 28, 1934, at the age of 65. Her death was natural, yet deeply symbolic of the transitory nature of fame during a tumultuous era in American history. Dressler passed away at the peak of her career, having just redefined stardom in the Great Depression with her unconventional looks, commanding screen presence, and heartfelt portrayals of working-class women. Her death came during a time when the United States was still grappling with the economic devastation of the Depression. At a moment when escapism in film offered the public temporary relief, Dressler's relatable characters provided not just comfort, but dignity. Unlike the glamorous screen sirens of her time, Dressler rose to prominence in her 60s, a rare feat in any era, but especially remarkable in a time when youth and beauty dominated Hollywood. Her popularity spoke to a cultural shift, a yearning for authenticity, resilience, and maternal strength amidst hardship. Dressler's passing created a noticeable void in the film industry. She had been the top box office draw in 1932 and 1933, beloved for films like Men and Bill and Dinner at 8. Her unique blend of comedy and pathos resonated across social classes. In a time when millions faced poverty, she embodied endurance and human warmth. The grief that followed her death wasn't just for an actress, but for a symbol of hope and survival. Though she didn't shift the course of global politics or history, Dressler's death marked the end of a rare kind of stardom, one born of character rather than image. Her story reminds us that public memory does not always immortalize the most glamorous figures, but often the most genuine. In death, Marie Dressler has been commemorated through retrospectives, biographies, and even a Canadian museum in her hometown of Cobourg, Ontario. Her legacy, preserved in early sound films, serves as a powerful reminder of film's ability to capture both the moment and the spirit of its era. Dressler's passing reflects a broader truth about mortality. It often sharpens our collective memory, allowing us to look beyond surfaces and celebrate the deeper values a person represents. Through art and cultural remembrance, we give such figures new life, ensuring their stories continue to inspire across generations. Frank Loesser, one of America's most beloved composers and lyricists, died of lung cancer on July 28, 1969, at the age of 59. His death was the result of years of heavy smoking, an all-too-common habit among entertainers of the mid-20th century when tobacco was marketed as both fashionable and stress-relieving. Loesser's passing underscored the quieter health crisis brewing in the background of a booming post-war entertainment industry, one that would only be fully acknowledged decades later. Best known for musicals like Guys and Dolls and How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, Loesser's work defined the golden age of Broadway. He brought a blend of streetwise wit, emotional intelligence, and lyrical sophistication that revolutionized the American musical. His songs captured both the energy of post-war optimism and the complex social shifts of the mid-century, whether in the romantic playfulness of Baby It's Cold Outside or the ambition of young professionals climbing the corporate ladder in How to Succeed. Loesser's death did not spark national mourning on the level of a political leader or cultural icon like Elvis or Marilyn Monroe. But within the world of theater and songwriting, it marked the end of an era. The Broadway community lost one of its most innovative voices, someone who bridged Tin Pan Alley traditions with a modern narrative sensibility. His absence was deeply felt, particularly as musical theater began to shift in tone during the 1970s, embracing edgier themes and rock influences. Loesser's legacy, however, only grew stronger in death. Revivals of his musicals, the continued popularity of his songs, and the establishment of the Frank Loesser Prize for Songwriting have kept his contributions in the public consciousness. His work is taught in conservatories, celebrated in documentaries, and cherished by generations of performers and audiences. Frank Loesser's passing reflects the delicate balance between personal mortality and artistic immortality. He died in a time when Broadway was beginning to evolve, but his fingerprints remained etched in its foundation. Through melodies that still echo on stage and lyrics that continue to resonate with truth and humor, Loesser's spirit endures. In remembering figures like Loesser, we see how art serves as a form of resistance to time. While human life is finite, the stories we tell and the songs we sing become our lasting footprints. Johnny Ventura, often hailed as El Caballo Mayor, passed away from a sudden heart attack on July 28, 2021, at the age of 81. A titan of Dominican merengue music and a revered political figure, Ventura's death sent shockwaves through the Dominican Republic and across Latin America. His passing, though natural, carried immense symbolic weight, marking the end of an era for both Dominican culture and political identity. Ventura emerged as a revolutionary force in music during the 1960s, modernizing merengue with bold orchestration, energetic stage presence, and socially conscious lyrics. His work not only transformed the genre, but also helped elevate Dominican national identity through cultural pride. In a time when Latin music was striving for international recognition, Ventura's charisma and innovation made him an icon, bridging generational and class divides. But Ventura was more than an entertainer. He was deeply invested in the civic life of his nation, serving as mayor of Santo Domingo from 1998 to 2002 and frequently speaking out on issues of justice and democracy. His dual legacy as an artist and politician underscores the Dominican Republic's complex dance between cultural celebration and political struggle. His sudden death came during a period of national reflection, as the country, like much of the world, was still navigating the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, political unrest, and generational shifts in leadership. The response to Ventura's death was immediate and profound. The government declared 3 days of national mourning. Tributes poured in from musicians, politicians, and fans across the globe. Public plazas rang with the rhythms of his music, a testament to how deeply embedded he had become in the cultural DNA of the nation. His funeral, a national event, blended solemn ceremony with musical celebration, capturing the joyous defiance that Ventura himself embodied. Johnny Ventura's legacy lives on in the rhythms of every merengue beat, in the voices of young musicians who dare to innovate, and in the civic spaces that still echo his calls for unity and progress. His death reminds us that cultural giants, while mortal, become timeless through the art they leave behind. As long as there is music to dance to and stories to tell, Ventura's spirit endures, immortalized in sound, memory, and collective pride. Derek Keith Barbosa, known professionally as Chino XL, passed away on July 28, 2024, at age 50. His death, the result of suicide after prolonged health struggles, including congenital heart failure and advanced prostate cancer, was a sobering end to a life defined by intellectual depth, lyrical excellence, and emotional honesty. His passing reflected not only personal hardship, but also the broader cultural challenges of mental health awareness, particularly among artists whose voices often mask their own suffering. Emerging in the 1990s underground hip-hop scene, Chino XL became renowned for his complex wordplay, raw emotion, and philosophical insight. Yet unlike many of his contemporaries, he resisted commercial compromise. His lyrics, often densely packed with literary allusions and social critique, spoke to a generation seeking meaning amid cultural turbulence. That refusal to dilute his message may have cost him mainstream fame, but it earned him deep, lasting respect within the music world. The immediate response to Chino XL's death was an outpouring of tributes from fellow musicians, poets, and devoted fans. Though he may not have topped charts, his loss was felt like that of a quiet giant, an artist whose influence had been woven subtly into the foundations of conscious rap. Many who had long admired his work revisited his albums, discovering in his lyrics a prescience and vulnerability that now felt all the more poignant. In death, his legend has only grown. His music has been recontextualized not only as art, but as testimony of pain, resilience, and the tension between brilliance and suffering. He now stands among a lineage of creators whose departure forced society to confront uncomfortable truths about the fragility behind fame. This reveals something timeless about humanity: our simultaneous fear of mortality and hunger for immortality through expression. Chino XL, like many before him, transcended his own ending by pouring his truth into art. In doing so, he became part of a larger narrative, one where words endure long after the voice is gone. We immortalize such figures not just in murals or playlists, but in memory, in the echoes of their courage to speak when others stayed silent. Chino XL may be gone, but the depth of his artistry ensures he will never be forgotten. Bernard Kribbon passed away at the age of 93. His death was the result of natural causes, marking the peaceful end of a life that had been deeply woven into the cultural fabric of Britain for over 7 decades. Kribbon was not a revolutionary in the political sense, nor a headline-making figure of controversy. Instead, he was a quiet giant, a beloved actor, narrator, and entertainer whose legacy came through the consistency, warmth, and familiarity of his presence. Known for his roles in The Railway Children, Doctor Who, and Jack Anori, Kribbon embodied a generation that valued humility, resilience, and a sincere dedication to craft. His long career, which began in the aftermath of World War II, reflected the evolution of British entertainment, from stage to screen and from radio to television. He adapted with grace, never chasing relevance, but remaining relevant nonetheless. In doing so, he bridged multiple generations, becoming both a nostalgic figure and a comforting presence to new audiences. The immediate response to his passing was heartfelt and widespread. Actors, writers, and fans alike shared stories of his kindness, professionalism, and the quiet joy he brought to countless homes. Particularly touching were tributes from Doctor Who fans, for whom Kribbon's portrayal of Wilfred Mott, the loving grandfather of Donna Noble, became one of the most emotionally resonant characters in the series' modern era. His scenes carried weight because they were grounded in real, human emotion, an echo of Kribbon's own gentle spirit. In death, Bernard Kribbon's legend grew not through myth-making or dramatic retellings, but through collective memory. His passing highlighted the value of quiet excellence in an age often driven by spectacle. It reminded society that legacy isn't always about disruption or reinvention. Sometimes it's about presence, reliability, and compassion. Kribbon's life and work show how we immortalize those who connect with our inner lives. Through film, television, and the enduring power of voice, he became part of countless childhoods and adult reflections alike. Statues may honor the bold, but it is in bedtime stories, warm performances, and familiar voices that the tender-hearted are remembered. Bernard Kribbon, in that way, lives on, not just as a performer, but as a feeling. Antonio Vivaldi, the renowned Venetian Baroque composer and virtuoso violinist, died on July 28, 1741, under circumstances that starkly contrasted with his earlier fame and influence. His death was due to natural causes, likely complications from illness exacerbated by poverty and declining health. Once a celebrated figure in European musical circles, Vivaldi's final years reflected the precarious nature of artistic fame and patronage in the 18th century. Vivaldi's era was marked by shifting social and cultural values, where composers were often dependent on aristocratic patronage or church appointments for survival. Despite his immense contributions to music, over 500 concertos, numerous operas, and sacred works, Vivaldi died nearly forgotten in Vienna, having fallen out of favor as musical tastes evolved toward the classical style emerging in the mid-1700s. His death in obscurity echoed the era's volatile relationship between art and social status, where innovation was celebrated but not always sustainably supported. The immediate consequences of Vivaldi's passing were modest. He was buried in a simple grave, and his music briefly faded from public performance. However, centuries later, his death would paradoxically amplify his legend. The 20th century revival of Baroque music brought Vivaldi back into global consciousness, especially through his iconic work, The Four Seasons. This resurrection reshaped classical music history by highlighting the enduring emotional depth and technical brilliance of Baroque composition, underscoring how artistic legacies can transcend their immediate historical circumstances. Vivaldi's death, and the narrative of neglect that followed, illuminates humanity's complex relationship with mortality, creativity, and remembrance. It reveals how cultural memory often oscillates between neglect and celebration, shaped by changing tastes, rediscovery, and scholarly reevaluation. Through art, musicology, and commemoration, Vivaldi was immortalized not only as a composer, but as a symbol of artistic perseverance against the tides of history. We immortalize figures like Vivaldi through recordings, performances, and scholarly work, transforming their once transient art into a permanent cultural heritage. His legacy reminds us that mortality may silence the individual, but memory, nurtured by art, ensures that their voice resonates through the ages, connecting past and present in an ongoing dialogue of human creativity. Johann Sebastian Bach, one of history's most profound composers, died on July 28, 1750, from complications widely believed to have followed a failed eye surgery. This natural but tragic end to Bach's life reflects both the medical limitations of the 18th century and the intense physical demands placed on artists of the Baroque era. His death marked the conclusion of a period rich in musical innovation, yet it also symbolized the fragile intersection of art, science, and human mortality during his time. Bach's era was one of transition and complexity. The Baroque period prized elaborate musical expression and technical mastery, yet it was also an age before modern medicine's advances, where even minor ailments could prove fatal. Bach's blindness, which developed late in life, and subsequent unsuccessful surgery highlighted the vulnerability of even the greatest minds to the era's medical shortcomings. Moreover, his passing occurred as the musical world was on the cusp of the classical period, which would shift tastes toward clearer, more structured forms, causing Bach's intricate contrapuntal style to be temporarily overshadowed. Immediately after his death, Bach's work was respected but not universally celebrated. Much of his music was considered old-fashioned by newer generations. Yet his death amplified the mystique surrounding his genius, sparking gradual recognition that would culminate in the 19th century with the revival of his compositions by figures like Felix Mendelssohn. This resurrection shifted the trajectory of music history by reaffirming Bach as a central pillar of Western music, bridging the past with evolving artistic ideals. Bach's death reveals humanity's enduring struggle with mortality and legacy, how the fragility of life intersects with the desire to create lasting meaning. His story emphasizes how power lies not only in life, but in memory, how the cultural valuation of art can fluctuate with time, and how rediscovery can immortalize those once nearly forgotten. We honor Bach today through countless performances, scholarly editions of his scores, and commemorative monuments, ensuring his music remains a vibrant testament to human creativity. Through these acts, art transforms mortality into timeless influence, a perpetual dialogue between the composer and every listener who experiences his work anew.